Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Vivian and welcome to BOOKMAS day 7, 8. In today's video, we'll be talking about the 10 series I would like to start in the year of 2024. These series I definitely will start and maybe will finish if it's a completed series. I really want to talk about them because I'm very excited to actually read these books, but I am pushing them off to next year because there's only a few weeks left in December, and I've mentioned this in a few BOOKMAS videos. If you guys have not watched my other BOOKMAS videos, you guys should. There's like a whole playlist. I basically will be leaving my country to go on vacation on the 20th. So I technically only have 2 weeks to read, and I have a lot of books I want to get done before the year ends. So I decided that I wanted to read them in 2024, and I want to be held accountable and to actually finish them because a lot of these, I own the books, I just haven't get to starting them. So that's why we're doing this video. So let's get started with the first series I would love to read. This series has been blowing up everywhere on TikTok, and it's a very book talk hype book, and the only reason why I'm not going to be starting it as soon as possible is because I don't actually have the second book on hand with me and I cannot find it anywhere. I decided I was going to go and get it when I go overseas next year, and that is the One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns duology. I think it's called the Shepherd King duology, and I've heard great things about that duology. I really want to read it, but I have heard that it's better to just read it together, so I'm waiting to get the second book to actually read it together. The series follows this one girl who actually has a monster living inside her called Nightmare, and she wants to get that monster out of her head. She goes on this journey to try to remove the monster from her head. There's a lot of gothic vibes in the book, so I'm interested to get to reading this. I've never actually read a gothic fantasy romance book before. That's one series I would love to read next year, probably in the first half of the year. As soon as I get the second book, I'll get to reading it. Second series I have is not finished yet, but the third book is coming out next year, I think. I'm not sure how long this series is going to be. I thought it was a trilogy at first, but apparently it's not. And it's This Woven Kingdom and These Infinite Threads. I'm not sure what the series is called. These are the covers. It's by Tara Mafi, who wrote Shatter Me, and I personally didn't like Shatter Me, but I would love to give this series a try. And also I've heard great things about it. It's an enemies to lovers. You follow a princess who technically is supposed to be dead or missing, but she's actually undercover working as a helper in another kingdom court, and that's the fun part about it. I'm not really too sure again what this entails. Obviously I'm hoping to enjoy the book because I didn't like Shatter Me, but I'm hoping that her writing has improved a lot and matured a lot since Shatter Me. So that is to reading this series next year. The next series I want to talk about, I am very terrified of getting into. I'm pretty intimidated by the series as a whole. I love the author. I'm just a little bit scared of getting into it, mostly because I guess I have very big expectations about the series. And I'm talking about the Crescent City series by Sarah J. Maas. I own both the first two books, House of Fire and Blood, House, Sky, and Breath, and I know the third book is coming out in January next year, which is why I feel like it's about time to actually get into the series. I have read Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, and I've absolutely loved Throne of Glass. That series immediately became my top reads of this year, and just getting into this, I am scared that I won't like it as much, or maybe that I have too high expectations and end up not really liking the series. That kind of terrifies me sometimes. When I go into a book that I have high expectations for, I end up being very much let down. I've heard great things about this though, and I know the Goodreads ratings are extremely high. And obviously I don't know how long the series is going to be. I know the third book is not the last one. I figured that I would just get into it and not be too terrified of like the cliffhangers. I would love to see all of the universe come together because I've heard there's a whole multiverse in the Sarah J. Maas world. So the fourth series I would love to read is actually completed. It's another duology, and I just recently got the books, so I am so excited to get into it. It's Foul Lady Fortune and Foul Heart Huntsman by Chloe Gong. This is actually a spin-off series of These Violent Delights and Our Violent Ends, and I really like that duology. It was very good. Enemies to Lovers, Romeo Juliet retelling, and this one talks about a side character from that book, and in this story that side character is called Rosalind Lang, and she was on the brink of death, but somehow she was brought back to life, only that she ends up being immortal, and so she became an assassin with the code name Fortune. Again, not really too sure what this book entails and what the plot is supposed to be, but I am so excited because I really like this world, this Shanghai world. We are now in 1931 Shanghai. It's so well thought out and the world building is amazing. Not have to basically rack my brain with new world building because technically it's the same world. I'm excited to read this. I'm excited to see if Roma and Juliet's gonna appear in this spin-off series as well. I know there's a novella in the middle, but I didn't get that. I'm not sure if I need to read it. Please let me know if you guys have read it, if I need to read it. Okay, these next few books, I do not have the complete series, but the 5th series I want to talk about is A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. If you guys have heard this author before, she did write Divine Rivals, and it's a very popular, hyped duology. And yes, the second book to this is also a duology. It's called The Fire Endless, and that one also came out already, but I was waiting for it to become this small little paperback size. I think it finally came out, but I have yet to grab it because I couldn't find it anywhere, so I might need to grab it overseas. I think I'm one of those in the minority who didn't love Divine Rivals. It wasn't like a wow book for me. It wasn't 5 stars. It wasn't amazing, but I would love to see if this one is better than that. I've heard that this book kind of feels like a folklore fairy tale type of vibe. I know you follow a slight mystery plot in this where young girls start going missing in this world, and the heiress called Adara needs to figure out how to save these girls, and so she ends up working with her nemesis. And again, the plot don't really explain much about this book, but I love going into fantasy blind. I had this book for so long on my TBR cart that I feel like I need to finally get into it. The next series I want to talk about, I don't really know if this is going to be a trilogy or if it's going to be a long series. I have no idea what this entails, but it's A Fate of Wrath and Flame and A Curse of Blood and Stone by K.A. Tucker. I know there's more books in the series. I don't know how many books it's going to be, but this is the Fate and Flame series. I've heard great things about the series, which is why I got it. I know K.A. Tucker wrote The Simple Wild, but I've never read that series before, so this author is new to me, but I would love to get into it, which is why I'm putting it in this video to keep myself accountable. The next book is a completed trilogy. I do not have the first book of this trilogy, which is why I couldn't start this year, but I will be grabbing the first book next year when I go overseas, and that is the Scholomance trilogy. I only have the second and the third book, and I also really hate the fact that they are both different sizes and different publishing companies. I will have to make do with this because I'm the stupid one who grabbed the wrong book, so it's all on me. This is the Scholomance trilogy. The first one is called A Deadly Education, the second one is The Last Graduate, the last one is The Golden Enclave. This is semi-dark academia, I think. Dark School of Magic, stuff like that, dark academia. The first time I saw this series was Rachel Catherine reading it, and that's how I got interested in reading the trilogy. I think I will like the trilogy, to be honest. I just feel like dark academia is a new genre for me, and I would love to get into that genre in the future. The first dark academia book I read is Babel, and I love Babel, so I would love to get into another dark academia trilogy. And since I own the last 2 books, I definitely need to get into it next year. The 9th series I want to get into next year is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson, and I'm only going to hold myself accountable for the first 3 books, the original Mistborn trilogy, and not the other books in this whole saga, because I am not sure if that's gonna happen. I have the first book. I didn't buy the next 2 books because I wanted to make sure that I actually like the series before I actually buy the other 2 books. This is the first book of the Mistborn trilogy. Don't really know what the story is about as well. Brandon Sanderson has very cool and very unique magic systems, I feel. First book I read of his is Warbreaker, and that one has breath as the magic system, which is very cool. I love that world building so much. I had a very fun time with that standalone, which is why I wanted to get into another series of his, and The Final Empire is the one that I want to get into. It's like a life goal of mine to actually finish the Mistborn trilogy. Next year will be the year that I finished the Mistborn trilogy, and I am excited to actually get into it. And the last series I want to read next year, I do not own because I actually purchased it online overseas. I had it sent over to my cousin's place, and that's the Kingdom of Lies series by Stasia Stark. I'm pretty sure that's the series name. If I said it wrongly, I apologize. The first book is A Curse So Dark, A Curse So Cruel and Lovely, A Court So Cruel and Lovely. I'm not doing a good job at this, but I've heard great things about this book on TikTok. I know this series got picked up traditionally, I think, by a publisher, but I decided to just buy it now because I really want to get into it. And I think the 4th book is coming out next year in March. I would love to get into it. I'm not really too sure, again, what this series is about, to be honest. I've not heard a lot of people talk about it, but I've also seen a lot of TikToks about it. It's fantasy romance, I think new adult and not YA. I feel like I will have fun with the series. I am popping in here for a little bit because I realized belatedly as I'm editing this that I only talked about 9 series. and not 10. I'm here to pop in to talk about my 10th series that I want to read, and I didn't realize I forgot about this series because I don't own the physical copies, but it's A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is a trilogy, and I do not have the books because they are not available to me right now in my country. I need to go overseas to actually grab them, but I really want to read this trilogy. I've heard great things this past few months. I want to get into a V.E. Schwab series. I do own one of her books right now, but I have not read any of her books yet. I am a little bit terrified of getting into it, but I also really want to read it. In this series, you follow Kel, who is the last of the Antari, and Antaris are magicians who can travel between worlds. And in this fantasy world, there are 4 different worlds. We follow London, so there are 4 different Londons. There's the red, gray, white, and there used to be a black London, but I think there isn't one anymore. Kel lives in red London, but he actually smuggles people from different versions of London to the other different versions of London. Something happens, an exchange goes bad, and he ends up meeting people from a different world and things happen. I just really like the sound of it, so that's why I am interested in reading this whole series. So yeah, back to past Vivian. Once again, really apologize for not realizing that I only talk about 9 series. And I also belatedly realized that all of these series are fantasy books, so I think it's gonna be 10 fantasy series I would like to read in 2024. Those are the series that I definitely want to get into, that I will definitely read next year. If you guys have read any of these series, or if you guys want to read any of these series, let me know in the comments down below, and let me know which series I should get into as soon as possible. But yeah, that is it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this, and I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the BOOKMAS videos so far. I will be uploading a video tomorrow as well, so look out for that. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It will mean a lot to me, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!